This video that we're about to go through is absolute dog. It's so bad. People want to know what your takes are now that you're involved to some degree, either just as friends or as past or present business partners or associates, and you know about the story. People in that community want to know what you think. I understand it's uncomfortable to talk about. I would also feel uncomfortable to talk about it, but that's the reality.
Fun for me, Connor. Like this week, I am like this Trump executive orders came out. I've got real world fucking shit to do. I've got real world stuff to do. I've got real media to do that policymakers watch. I've got meetings with elected officials to have. I've got meetings with the Democratic Party as we're trying to figure out what the fuck our trans messages should be. I've got real world stuff to do. And I'm literally trying to save my rights. And just unapologetically, that is my mission. I don't, like, if Destiny committed some sex crimes, that is terrible. And I will judge that as the facts come out in court, whether I'm going to work with him or not. I just don't have time to stress this shit because I've got real shit to do. Well, and there's something about his fucking life that just sucks me into it.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why a lot of DGGers, including people who are in my chat right now, they're bitter. They're angry. And the reason why they're bitter and angry is because you have this guy who, listen, if you're a Destiny hater in the chat, that's totally fine, but I'm just going to lay it out, I think, the way most people within his community perceive him. He's intelligent. Yeah. He's charismatic. He can hold his own in a debate. He's a decent researcher, and he's an effective rhetorician, right? Yeah. Like, if he was Adolf Hitler levels of crimes, these things would still be true, right? And so he kind of, I would say, from 2022 to 2024, it looked like he dedicated himself to getting into the largest rooms possible based off of his clout and influence in orbit. And it seemed like he was really scratching at, like, the door to the mainstream. You know, been on Piers Morgan, talking to the DNC chair, talking to real world politicians, talking to these people, talking to that people, been on every big podcast that's available. Basically.
I worked very hard to get that door open for him.
Oh my God. Did you hear that comment? Like, first off, let's talk about what Conor's saying here. All of that could be true. And I would say most of that is true. But your concern here is his victim. That's the take that they're taking. The victims are what's most important. And it's like, you haven't even got to condemning Destiny yet, and you're already off what a great person he is, how skilled he is, right? You're already there. Like, come on. Then listen to what Brianna says. This to me, neither here nor there when it comes to sort of commentary about Destiny and this allegation, but it just says so much to her character. Listen to this.
These people, talking to that people, been on every big podcast that's available. Basically.
I worked very hard to get that door open for him, Conor.
See, you understand. If you were wondering, how did Destiny break through to be able to be on Piers Morgan and to talk to Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro? Now you know the answer. It's because of Brianna Wu. Ladies and gentlemen, Brianna opened those doors for him. You see? That's what happened. Every time I've debated Brianna, it's, oh, I talked to Congress people. I did that. Like, Jesus. Everything. Yeah, we know, Brianna, you're clearly the most talented person around. You did it. You opened these doors. Good for you. Whatever. Neither here nor there, though, about the allegations.
And so really hard.
And so right when he's reaching the mainstream or whatever, he has this dipshit sex scandal that effectively implodes not just the goodwill of people outside of his community, but implodes the goodwill of a healthy chunk of people within his community. And so he's we should and will focus on the victims, but he's really hurt himself bad in the dumbest way possible.
We should focus on the victims, but we're still going to talk about what a shame for Destiny. Okay.
Destiny aside, like I entirely agree with every single word you just said. What is it about? Like, I like Steven so much. I wish he's one of the strongest like figures we've got for articulating like democratic beliefs. I've really enjoyed a lot of his stuff. What is it about him that causes him to have so much thoughtfulness in how he engages on these issues and makes such obviously poor decisions in his personal life? The fact everyone around him.
Do you want me to give you a spoiler? I can give you a spoiler right now. So
so far we're when did Brianna come in? We're 6-7 minutes into this, and also we've heard about how talented and great Destiny is, and he's so good at what he does. Look, Destiny's an effective debater, but have you ever stopped to think that maybe he's not as good as you think? He's so thoughtful in how he articulates his debates. Horseshit. Yeah, he can be smart, he can make good points, but oftentimes he's using shitty tactics, and let's not forget the rhetoric he had around Trump and shit. Notice none of them care about that. It's just, it's unbelievable. Now we've got into So, okay, we should be talking about the victims of the allegation, but first let's talk about how great Destiny is and how, it's a shame that he's hurt himself in our community. And then, now Conor's going to get into a little diagnosis of Destiny. Why are these things happening? Well, let's listen to Conor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna walk through the narrative. I promise everybody at home will walk through the narrative. However, when I went back and looked at the Destiny report by Mr. Girl, there's an allusion to a video called "My Early Life Was Bizarre," and this is Destiny talking about his early life. And in that video, he talks about how he was raised by his parents, I think in Omaha, Nebraska. They ran a daycare center, and basically his parents ignored him because he was the runt of the litter. All of his siblings are 10 years older. So he has more siblings, and he never got to know them or got to know them intimately. Then he was ignored for the daycare, and he talks about how he actually felt pretty bad and would sometimes go hide in the backyard or hide in the front yard, waiting to see how long his parents would take to notice that he was gone. And so to me, that borderline sounds like neglect, right? But he cites that as like, well, everybody says, that this was bad, but I actually credit it with giving me an incredible amount of like emotional resilience. I learned to, not look to others for my sense of self-worth, right? Well, the second thing that I actually think is pretty traumatic is when he was a teenager, his parents went bankrupt. So he effectively went and lived with his grandmother on weekends in particular, and his grandmother was going senile. So she was having all sorts of issues, including messing herself, including she had this one proclivity that I think is particularly scarring, which is effectively she would adopt dogs. She would keep them for 3 to 6 months. She would make up a health issue or behavioral issue and then put them down. And over the course of 5 years, Stephen believes that his grandma, because he tried to get his parents to intervene, put down 20 dogs. And some of these dogs he cared about. And so for me, like, that's not a sweep. I'm being descriptive. I think that if he had some latent sociopathy, latent narcissism, latent whatever, those traumas absolutely fucking contributed to it.
I'm personally uncomfortable psychoanalyzing him, so I don't want to do that. I hear what you're saying.
So, I just want to be clear what my criticism was of this. So you've heard, we haven't even, if you're just tuning into this, and you're like, oh, I have a brief idea of what these allegations against Destiny are. They haven't even talked about it. They haven't even talked about the victims. So I want to remind you, again, what Brianna said, it was horseshit what I said.
Conor, put this comment from Calcon.
All right, we're about now, what are we on here? We're approaching 30 minutes. Heard anything about their opinions on how bad this is? They just said, yeah, we believe Pixie. That's it. We've glazed Destiny. We've talked about how great he is. We've talked about his childhood trauma. We've talked about this space and people leaking DMs and what a problem that is. We've talked about how it's a death avoidance strategy. Intel Wild for $10 says, Rob, you're on their radar when they start pocket watching you. Yeah, I hear you. All right. I know Morbius was in the chat and wanted us to get to this moment. I know what's coming up. 42 minutes. Brianna wants a comment being brought up here. Ready?
On screen, please.
Sure.
Hey, you know what? Brianna working hard as she can stay off topic of Destiny leaking news without consent. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. You have no idea what my week has been like. And if you think I support leaking nudes of my friends, go fuck yourself. Seriously. We're here having a discussion, and we'll get to the parts that you want when I fucking want to. Okay? So you can fucking act like an adult and let us have our conversation, and we'll get to that when I want. Is that okay with you?
Is that comment wrong? That's exactly. Anyone watching right now, we're 25 plus minutes in, and then when someone's like, hey, what the fuck? Like, are you going to comment on this? Fuck you, we'll say what we want. Okay, great answer. That's why I said when I'm arguing with Brianna about this on X, yeah, they do eventually say, oh, what Destiny did was bad. After they're goaded into it by the audience, not my audience, mind you, their audience, that's finally getting fed up. You already heard Conor once say, yeah, there's like 6 people in the audience saying I'm making excuses for Destiny, but that's not what I'm doing. So I'm glad notice she's more outraged. Finally, we see some emotion from Brianna. Not because her friend has been victimized and is now suicidal, but now we see some emotion. Someone calls her out for stalling for 30 minutes to be able to talk about this.
With you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, or you can fuck off to another chat. That's another option.
Yeah, you can also just go the fuck away.
So the next thing that I wanted to hit, okay, and actually, I do need.
Can
to
you boot this fucker from the chat, please? Thank you.
Sure.
Great.
So, listen, we all.
Yeah, you don't want someone throwing your failings and the truth into your face, right? Boot them out, get them out. We don't have time to talk about people that are pointing out the fact that we're delaying and not talking about the actual issue at hand. We don't have time for that.
I'm pretty sure that based off of Steven's numbers, based off of his members, based off of this, based off of that, I'm pretty sure that is approximately or even less than a month's worth of income.
Yeah.
Right? And so if that is, if I'm off, I'm off. But I've heard that anything else does really well. He obviously gets a lot of ad revenue. He obviously gets a lot of post-recorded views. I don't think it would take him particularly long to find that cash, right?
No, of course not.
And so as an apology for saying, you were my friend, I violated your trust, I leaked content of you, and you have had to suffer for months as a result, I think that would be an appropriate conciliatory apology. And
now, do you hear what Conor just said? Do you hear what he just said? I was shocked. I was listening to this. My wife, I'll sit there and listen to politics video and shit in bed. So my wife, we're not in bed yet. We're up watching TV. My son, for whatever reason, went to bed really late last night. So he's in our room watching TV. In case you're wondering what we were watching, it was Blaze and the Monster Machines. And so my wife's on her phone, and I'm listening to this on my phone. She's just she doesn't know many of the characters, and she's just kind of listening secondhand. And she was like, wait, what did he just say? Right? If you listen to what he said, the tone that he's going, you expect him to say the opposite. So he's like, okay, my understanding is the maximum she could sue for is $150,000. And Destiny, that's probably less than a month's worth of income for him. It won't take him much time at all to raise this money. So it sounds like he's going to say, so that seems like it's not a harsh enough punishment. Less than a month's wages. But then he goes, yeah, I think that's appropriate. That sounds about right. So for contrast, on a good month, with my job that I work in home health care, I make close to $4,500. So if I did this to a trusted friend, Conor would be like, yeah, that sounds about right. A month's worth of wages. That's right. Pixie's entire position, what she's saying at least, you might say I don't believe her, but what she's saying is, it's not about her receiving the money. She wants punitive action against Destiny to make sure that it affects him so much that he'll never do this again. And Conor's like, yeah, $150,000, that sounds about right. That seems incredible to me. I mean, it's his opinion, that's fine. But, I mean, I was shocked. Because I thought he said inappropriate. That seems inappropriate as a punishment. And then I re-listen and he says, that seems like an appropriate. So an apology and $150,000. Less than a month's wages. Conor says, that sounds about right.
And if they don't want to be friends after that, that's totally fine. But instead, we're going this route where the sides are entrenching themselves. And, as a result, we're having this friction and this public implosion.
So instead, sides are entrenching themselves and we're having this public implosion. What the fuck does that mean? It's almost like he's saying, well, it's regrettable that this has become a public story. If Destiny would have just given $150,000 and apologized, then they could have been friends or not. No, everything would have been settled. But as is, I guess we have to have this public implosion. No shit.
Let's get back to the core thing here is messages were leaked about Pixie without her consent to Sunday, who is a piece of absolute human.
Oh, he's such an asshole. And
there we go. Now we get to the real villain. You see? Let's go back for a second. I'm like, oh, finally Brianna's going to talk about Destiny leaking this and how bad it is. Ready?
Without her consent to Sunday, who is a piece of absolute human.
Oh, he's such an asshole, and I will be happy to bring up why he's an asshole momentarily.
Sure. But I'm just saying, Pixie.
Oh,
now, again, can we go back to what my post was explaining what I thought this video was, and Brianna said it was horseshit. Let's summarize. Destiny had trauma as a child. Yep. He's talented, a big-hearted person who does great work in politics. Yep. Next thing, when we finally get who's the real villain? Number one, President Sunday is horrible. There you go. Now, I'm not saying that she's wrong. For what it seems like, it does seem like President Sunday possibly went public with this while Pixie was asking people not to. And that's scummy. And it seems like he said in his video, maybe she's a little money grubby. And that's not cool. But holy shit, they still haven't really criticized Destiny. well, if the courts, whatever the courts say, I haven't seen a report from the New York Times. Yeah, I believe Pixie, and yeah, let the lawsuit do what it does. But oh boy, was President Sunday shitty. Potentially criminal. Thanks so much for $2. Says Sunday is the man who killed their golden goose. Right, that's why they're more pissed at him.
When it comes to that simply, that she was recorded without her consent, and then that those recordings were used for sexual gratification and then spread without her consent, that the reason why that's such a huge violation to me is because in this sphere, consent, like with progressive and liberal sex, consent is like all they talk about. It's all they talk about is consent.
Yeah.
I have another 3-minute rant, but I'm going to save you from it.
No. Go ahead, Conor. I mean,
I don't understand that point. Like, yeah, you're right. Consent is a big deal to people in this sphere on the left that talk about consent, so much so that they'll say, like, you have to get consent for every single act in the middle of sex. Like, okay, yeah, but how's that different from from Pixie's accusation? Pixie also makes an accusation of consent being violated. And Conor just told you, well, when it was her, my reaction was just to joke around and brush it off like previous accusations. So, yes, there is a second level of consent being violated that Cherry's alleging. But if that's him, he's like, because basically he's making a claim of hypocrisy. That's why he's saying, well, this community claims to care about consent. And so what was done allegedly to Cherry is clearly a violation of consent. And that's why I'm sort of outraged. Okay, but that's what Pixie's also alleging. Cherry's alleging her consent was violated twice, in the act of the filming and in the act of the giving that tape. Pixie's alleging her consent was violated once, the act of giving the tape. So I don't understand Conor's differentiation here. Now he's got a 3-minute rant for us. Ready?
My thought is very straightforward. It's the exact same as Pixie. If she's got evidence of this, I 100% her bringing a lawsuit forward and proving it in court, and Stephen can face the consequences of his actions, like determined by judge and jury, right? 100%. Like if you've got a case, I welcome you bringing it. And
are they saying anything? Well, this is how I feel about it. Here's how. No, it's just like, well, let the court deal with it. Reflective journey. Let me be clear. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. I said this several times previously. If their argument was, understand my criticism isn't them saying, maybe they would say, I'm going to keep working with Destiny. I'm not even saying that that's something that is beyond the pale. They're not saying anything is my criticism. They're not saying, listen, this is really bad. He violated Pixie's consent. That's terrible. And yeah, the courts will decide what the courts will decide. But personally, for me, I'm not going to work with a guy like that. And I think that he shouldn't be the face of the DNC. He shouldn't be someone that's being mainstream. They're not saying that, or they're not saying, look, I think it's bad, but it's not the end of the world. And he seems apologetic, and so, I'm going to stand by him. They're not saying any of that. Brianna says the Cherry thing, it's the same as Pixie. Let it go to court. It is not the same. In fact, Cherry is claiming that she's not just filing civil charges, she's filing criminal charges. Which gives you a little idea. You don't have to rely on the court cases, but it gives you a little idea that there is something different here. Again, this is why I think it's a reasonable interpretation to watch this. So far, we're 45 minutes into this? They've glazed Destiny, how great he is, talked about his past trauma, talked about how bad President Sunday is, said, yeah, the court case, whatever. But they haven't really done much of talking about what they think morally means for Destiny. It seems like they're avoiding it.
Can you scroll up a little bit, Conor, and go back to this thing here where it's Mobaz, Brianna keeps saying if they have evidence?
Sure.
So I'll let people read this. So look, I understand what you're saying. And yes, if Destiny did say that and it's provable, like that looks really, really bad. I feel like the difference of perspective I have on this is you've got to think through every aspect of the court case, right? You've got to get it admitted as evidence, right? They can bring in experts to say, has this been tampered with, right? So I'm just saying, personally, I think, I haven't personally seen that, but if you're telling me Destiny admitted to it, I think it's probably true. I also think it's a different thing to get evidence as being admissible in a court of law. Evidence is dismissed all the time. So,
but that Marbles was in my chat here earlier. That's not why Marbles is saying this. He's saying, look, you keep hedging on, well, whatever the courts say is what my opinion will be. And he's saying, but we have the evidence. In fact, you're saying you believe Pixie. So just saying, well, whatever the courts decide doesn't seem to be sufficient. The courts decide guilt or not, and then they'll levy a punishment. You've already assigned guilt Brianna, in your own words, because you're saying, I believe Pixie's right. So what is the punishment that you think that members of the community should deal out? And punishment doesn't have to mean that you are attacking him or anything, but the punishment in this sense would mean, how are you going to react now that you think he's guilty? We haven't heard word one.
That's not me hedging. That's me understanding like how the process is going to play out, right? This stuff we're seeing online, that's a really long way away from a civil suit like going through and it being looked at and found actionable. So I'm just trying to be accurate here.
Yeah, so I'm going to address one, because why not? Brianna put the entire wagon behind Destiny. There is no other option but to keep a tiny, but being a tiny drone, laugh my ass off. Okay.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Right. Pie, you fucking moron. Okay. So, number one, my most successful YouTube channel is Warhammer, not this. Okay. Number two, I love politics. I'm going to do it with or without Destiny. Number three, Brianna.
First off, let's go through these. One, it could be true that he has a channel of other content that's his bigger channel. That doesn't mean that when it comes to his politics stuff, that he's getting much more eyeballs on him by working with Destiny. That's absolutely true. By the way, that's true for me if I do a stream with Destiny. The truth is, Conor got hired by Progressive Victory Pack, which largely comes through Brianna. And one of the reasons Brianna was able to bring people on was by showing them people like Destiny. She probably went to this pack and was like, look at how influential streamers could be. And who's the one that they could point to that would be the most influential and have the most eyeballs? Destiny. So the fact that both of them are going to deny the fact that there's personal benefit to views for them, for their business relationships, etc., to work with Destiny is ridiculous. In addition to that, being a member of that community and thinking that he's driving politics in a successful way in the direction you want, also in some degree is of some personal benefit. What can't be denied is we've been listening to this for over 40 minutes and they've barely criticized Destiny at all. They've done so in the most mealy-mouthed ways. So you can't blame people for looking at it and saying, holy shit.
Pretending that Brianna is a Destiny orbiter. I would admit that I'm a Destiny orbiter. I am or was friends with him, and I hang out with his friends online.
I hang out with his friends all the time.
Well, and then maybe that is a little bit more valid, that you hang out with like Pixie or talk to Kyla or something like that. I don't know.
They're my friends. That doesn't mean I'm like, my career is not, I don't make money from knowing Steven. I don't define that. It's actually a huge headache in my life. It has nothing to do with what I do professionally. Like literally nothing.
And remember, we've already heard from Brianna. She opened those doors to the mainstream for Destiny. So it's all big inconvenience for her.
Yeah. Oh, wait. So hold on. So Morgul says, yeah,
like,
both of
I
you are
don't need
sweeping
Destiny to like be well known. I don't. The lanes I swim in have nothing to do with DPG.
Marbles, you would have to cite me an example of us sweeping, or else I'm just going to assume you're shit posting. Because so far what we've done is we've covered Pixie and we've covered Cherry, and I think our editorializing has been spot on. So yeah.
That might be the funniest fucking thing. You know, I know Conor's original statement on X was making a joke about the Pixie allegation. That might be the funniest thing he said. Their editorializing has been spot on. They're not sweeping. Holy shit.
Destiny has used his audience to bully smaller creators. With
100%.
Demon Mama, hold on, you're going to love these two examples. With Demon Mama and Ryan Beard cited as examples. I have my take. I want to hear your take.
I think that's true. I want bully. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but don't start a fight with DGG. I mean, what can I say? I mean, look, this is the arena. This is streaming. There's 100%.
Okay, so
isn't that a funny take? Yeah, okay. Destiny's community bullies smaller content. But hey, man, suck it up. This is the arena. Okay. Didn't she just whine to have someone booted from this chat like 20 minutes ago? Did I miss that? Just boot this guy. But it's the arena, Brianna. Suck it up, right? Can't handle a little criticism? Not to make this about me, but I will give a little insight and interactions I had with Brianna. I'm some fucking dude that does home health care 70 hours a week. I do this shit as a hobby. I used to do all these panels. I'd go in with all these lefties. Did one with Brianna. I wrecked her. She's not a good debater. She accused me of treating her like shit because she's a woman. Okay. Right? And then she saw me do a discussion one-on-one with Destiny. So she reaches out to me and is basically like, hey, your discussion with Destiny was reasonable. Is it because he's a man and I'm a woman? And I was like, what? No, it's because you started talking shit on me. In the panel that I was on with her, she started off saying all Trump supporters are fucking morons and children and blah, 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 babies. So I gave it right back to her. in that particular discussion with Destiny, he wasn't insulting me. I didn't insult him. She demanded an apology. She said, if you apologize for me, I said, I have no apology to offer. And she basically said, well, I just want to let you know that there were opportunities with panels that I've been on where they were going to bring you on, but now I'm going to tell them I refuse. This is the arena, she says. Have some thick skin. If the Destiny community is bullying you and you're a smaller content creator, suck it up, baby. And yet she's such a fucking baby. After insulting me and I insult back, she's like, well, I'm telling people not to bring you on panels.
We're not even defending Destiny here. We're just accurately describing what the Twitch space is, which is a bunch of clout-hungry people that gin up drama to go up other people, which is why...
I mean, again, I understand why they're going through this Mr. Girl stuff, because it's like, well, Mr. Girl's saying, see, the evidence was out there even before this, so I get it. But isn't this sort of tangential? And they're... Again, I can't stress this. We're damn near an hour into this video. What have they said about Destiny? Like, about the allegations at hand?
Right?
Conor, if this is actually about women, if this space is actually caring about women, if this discussion is actually about women, why has it been so hard to have a real conversation about the way that women are treated in the streaming space? Like, why has it been so hard for DGG to get over some of these impulses they have of how they treat women, which are frankly disturbing sometimes,
because that's not as entertaining as being a sociopath and doubling down on Destiny's negative behavior, and that's not as entertaining as being a moral crusader against him trying to get his head on a pitchfork. It's just not as entertaining.
That's right.
So
that's right. And I took actions in private this week.
But here's the thing, right? Okay, let's assume, let's give the benefit of the doubt and say Brianna feels that way. She's been upset for a long while about how Destiny's community treats women. But when she was tasked at Progressive Victory for hiring streamers, didn't she hire Destiny? Didn't she know? If she was troubled by how his community treated women, why would she intentionally put someone into that situation that she knew their community would treat women poorly? And there have been accusations that came out that there were women at some of those canvassing events that felt that they were treated improperly. It almost seems like that they're making the point, you don't really care about the victims, Max Carson. You just want to use this for content, for your own personal benefit. But couldn't a similar criticism be levied at them? Despite the fact they're saying, oh, we knew Destiny was shitty, his community went after smaller communities, his community treated women like shit, but we still willfully associated with them and didn't say much about it. And we really care about the victims. That's why we're not going to talk about Destiny for the first hour or so of this video, really. Couldn't the same criticism be levied at me? Rob, you've never even met Pixie. You've talked to Cherry a handful of times. You don't give a shit. You're just doing this for content. You're just doing this to kind of wag your finger at a community that's came after you aggressively before. Maybe. I feel I do care about the victims. Fair enough. I don't mind people making that criticism about me. And as I said, a lot of this is, my interest in it is, almost everyone that I've debated on this sphere on the left is connected to Destiny. And to watch this community implode is like a Jerry Springer episode where you know all of the participants. And yes, I well know that I have more people watching me right now because of the title of this video being about Destiny than if I was going on about Trump's executive orders. So yes, a similar criticism could be made of me. I don't think it's just about the content. I think I actually care about the victims as well. But nonetheless, for them to say, well, those others just care about the content and just care about personal shit, and then to quickly, but that wouldn't be us. And I'm not the one claiming to be friends with the victims.
That I thought were the right thing to do, right? I did things that I think were helpful for this, and I didn't go on Twitter and moralize everything, right? It's so fucking disgusting. Like, no one in this fucking space gives a shit about any of this. They're just trying to grow their brands because they don't have any fucking talent, except like Destiny.
Except you,
it
Brianna,
is so
right?
bizarre.
So what's happened, and I have no problems with like refocusing back to Destiny, and we're going to do that right now. So what's happened is Pixie was violated, okay?
How many times have we heard this? Well, yeah, we'll get to Destiny. I have no problem getting to Destiny. We'll get to Destiny. We'll get there. Okay, we're over an hour and 15 minutes into this. We'll get to them. Yeah, we spent time talking about Lav and President Sunday and Max Carson. Oh, we were mad. We were yelling about them. Okay, we'll get to Destiny. Here we go. Hour and 15 minutes in. We already heard about what a great guy Destiny is and He's charming and he's great at politics and debate. He's charismatic and he had a lot of trauma as a child. So now let's get to it.
She had her trust violated.
Yes.
She had her privacy violated.
Multiple people.
She is owed compensation, and she's also owed an apology. Okay, that's just true. All right. Sherry, if the criminal allegations are correct, if she has some kind of civil allegations where she can sue for it, then God bless her, wish her the best.
Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to the criminal allegations, there is a part of me that thinks like, well, fuck, like, you know, this is crazy that Stephen might spend time in jail, but maybe the fear of jail is what he needs in order to wake the fuck up and realize that he can't treat people outside of himself like sexual pleasure tools. That's not what they are. They're human beings with their own ambitions, with their own desires, with their own lives. And he effectively treated them like they were disposable. That's what happened. And so if you're going to treat people like they're disposable and they have means with which to get justice from you, they're going to use those tools. So in my opinion, this is going to sort out the way that it needs to sort out. Let Lav on cowards. I'll happily talk.
So basically, you tell me if I'm wrong, what Conor just said there was, yeah, sure, let them file their court cases and whatever happens, happens. It'll sort out. Am I wrong? Isn't that what he just said? Isn't that what he said? Okay, Pixie's a victim. Cherry as well. You think he's clear? Then was I accurate in how I represented what he said, Dave Timmerman? He said, what should the repercussions be? Well, you're right. There's court cases. It'll sort out. What if the court cases fall through? What if they fall through? What if he's right when he was explaining Cherry's court case? Well, the problem is that the revenge porn statute doesn't really, it has to be malicious, and the other statutes have to be video. And so it's like, wow, what was done to her was really heinous, but because of the way that the statutes are written, she can't file a charge. Then what? I guess that's it. The court process played out then, right? Well, there you go. That's justice, right? That's justice. You see? You see? Now, I want everyone to see. Do you see someone like Dave Timmerman? Oh, it's Pete Hegseth. See, that's what it is. Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Lav, Mr. Girl, President Sunday. Everyone but your daddy, right, Dave Timmerman? Everyone but him. The difference, Dave Timmerman, is them saying, we believe them. We believe them. We believe Pixie. But if the court cases fall through, oh well, we'll continue to be chums with Destiny and say, well, there you go, no punishment for Destiny. Even though we believe Pixie, as a person, I'm still going to befriend Destiny, still hang out with them. Because Pete Hegseth. Because Donald Trump. That's not what people are asking. And again, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about people in the DGG community. They want to say, fuck you, Rob. You're not involved with Destiny, blah, blah, blah. You're politically opposed to him. Fine, so be it. They're right. But what do you say to those people? Well, yeah, if the courts rule that Destiny did wrong, he did. And if they rule he didn't, then he didn't. But I believe Pixie. I'll keep working with Destiny. I'll keep pumping out the content. It's surreal. He's hiding what he personally will interact with Destiny, what moral culpability he personally puts on Destiny, what his actions will be regarding Destiny going forward. Yes, he's hiding in that he hasn't said any of that. He's only said, yeah, Pixie's a friend. I believe her. This feels gross. Let the courts decide.
I'll admit that I was
I know
fairly
Lab
callous
does come on after.
early on. I was probably making light of the situation, and I was probably coping. Okay,
with your $1 million tweet.
Yeah. I was making fun of it. I was being mean. I was being callous, and it's not nice, right? I will admit that there is a part of me, like I doubt Steven would consider us friends, but I've hung out with Steven enough that I'd be like, yeah, we're friendly acquaintances, we're professional peers in a way. We at least talk to each other and have debates and all that kind of stuff. And I enjoy talking to him. I think he's an intelligent person.
Yeah.
However, basically, I think there's like a mourning process to when you lose a relationship that you liked, right? And so maybe I was in denial, maybe I was coping, right? But what I've kind of always held true, and I actually applaud Kyla to a certain degree for saying publicly, Kyla said that she doesn't like cutting people off entirely, and if people are willing to like change and all that kind of stuff, then maybe they can be friends in the future or work together in the future, right? Well, I think I said or thought something similar, which is like, if you basically reform or whatever, then maybe I could work with you in the future, right? But this is...
There we go. Now we're finally at least getting to what he personally would do. Finally! Hour and 20 minutes in. What you did was really immoral. I don't like to cut people out. But if you seem like you're apologetic and you're willing to make amends, I'm not going to completely cut you out. That's an answer. Not even one that's unreasonable. An hour and 20 minutes in. Hour and 20 minutes. So now let's go further.
The way that Destiny is reacting to this issue right now, and I have to say, this is not what I think is acceptable, like at all. So reading the logs, and chat can help us out a little bit. There's exclamation point IP ban thrown throughout this, where I'm assuming people who are talking shit about Destiny in the chat are getting IP banned. Okay, so that's what I'm assuming is going on. All right. But while this is after the drama's unfolded, I think he's in offline chat. Destiny says, Hugh Chungus, I don't care. People can describe things however they want, like we did in 2024. My only real area of interest is politics and stuff going forward. I've been out of the drama interpersonal game for a long time. They can all do that on Jay Stalker's stream. Okay.
This is like bullshit, by the way, right? The idea, this is just bullshit, right? The idea that it's like, well, I used to do drama, but now I just want to talk about politics, so I'm not going to discuss the drama about me. What the immoral actions I've taken. That's such bullshit. Just say this. I can't talk about this because there's pending litigation. But the idea that it's like, well, during the election season, I talked about politics, and now I just want to be politics man. I don't want to talk about drama. Now that it involves me, I mean, what bullshit? I don't blame Destiny for being very careful about what he says publicly because there are potential criminal and civil cases going forward, but that's just dumb.
All these dipshit people in commentary that in bad faith are just looking for their next shitty video to put out, taking stuff out of context. They're doing it right now in the chat. I knew this would happen. And it's just like, it's so far from...
That's me. I'm doing content off of Brianna, except I'm playing the whole damn thing, not just taking things out of context. And by the way, this is a criticism I have of Brianna. Brianna has no self-reflection whatsoever. Again, the time I debated her and she starts off insulting, and then like, oh, Trump supporters are all babies. They're all stupid. They don't know. All they do is whine. Her opening statement, first thing anyone says in the debate. Then I come on and give shit back. Yeah, Brianna says I'm stupid, but I'm fucking wrecking her on this point, this point, and this point. Why is Rob so rude? You started being rude. Oh, sorry I hurt your feelings. You didn't. I'm not the one bitching about rudeness. I accepted it with a smile on my face and gave it back. But why were you so rude? Why won't you apologize to me? Are you a misogynist? What the fuck are you talking about? You have no ability to look and say, geez, did I say things that led to the toxicity of that? Same thing here. Well, people are gonna, it's all clout, they'll take it out of context, blah, blah, blah. And no, that's outrageous. They're saying that we were sweeping for Destiny. Dude, even people in your own audience were like, what is going on? An hour and 20 minutes before you start breathing a word. Basically, all you've said so far is like, yeah, I believe Pixie, and let's just leave the courts decide. But Mr. Girl's shit, and Lav's shit, and President Sunday's shit, and all the people that'll stream are shit. By the way, I don't deny that maybe her and Conor didn't want to do this video. But aren't they doing it for content too? They'd say, well, we have other reasons to do it. So do I. Pretty hard to criticize people using the story as content when you yourself are using the story as content.
I mean, we've seen this pattern from him a ton, right? When he's under pressure, his instinct is to attack. I mean, that's who he is.
This situation is different to me for a
variety of reasons. Look, I'm not defending this, Conor. I'm saying this is his fundamental character flaw. I mean, yeah.
So anyway, like I said before, I've definitely made mistakes and fucked up. All I can do is promise to be better and change behavior going forward. I'll figure out and settle what needs to be settled in the background. It's too much, then leave. If not, welcome to 2025. Okay, so for me, this thing right here, I've definitely made mistakes and fucked up. Like, I get that he's not talking to Pixie. He's not talking to Sherry. He's not talking to anybody else he might have heard. But what people want to hear, what I want to hear, is I don't want to hear, oh, I fucked up and in the future. Because he does this sociopathic bullshit, because let's face it, he probably does have a little bit of sociopathy in him, where he's like, oh, I don't care about apologies. I only care about behavior. This is like something that he said for like years, right? Well, human beings who have emotions and who feel remorse and contrition, they care about apologies. Because a sincere and heartfelt apology shows that you actually do feel some level of vicarious pain, and you're not going to inflict that misery on another person again. So I do want to hear the words, I'm sorry. Now, he doesn't owe me shit. But I'm just saying, if I'm going to interact with you in the future and you fuck someone over this hard, I borderline need to hear you say, I fucked up. I hurt you. I'm sorry. I will try to make it right. And if it can never be right, I understand.
Exactly. Right? Now, let me be clear. Conor and Brianna's video here has been dog shit thus far. I don't take back anything I've said. I think my characterization has been exactly right. I mean, remember, we're over an hour and a half in when he finally starts talking, says this. But his take is very similar to my take, except my take's not just about Destiny. I'm looking at it as, yes, it's Destiny, and I've already blacklisted. Destiny blacklisted me and rage quit the last time I debated him. So I don't know that I had prospects of being on a panel or doing a show with Destiny in the future anyways, and they're few and far between regardless. But there's certainly a lot of people. The Twitch, YouTube politics sphere sort of centers around Destiny a lot. At least those people that I interact with. So a lot of panels that I do are people that are in Progressive Victory that worked with Destiny, or people that are Destiny orbiters. And presumably, I'll keep debating people. My life will move on. I'll keep doing the types of content that I've always done. And that means I'll be dealing with people in Destiny's orbit. And much like Conor is asking the question that I would ask about Destiny, I'm not saying I would never do another debate against him. But before I'm willing to do something like that, I need to see what the details of this is. Is it someone who fucked up and made a mistake and really feels bad and is trying to make things better? That's different than if it's someone that's like, well, shit, I got caught. Let's throw money at the problem and move on like nothing happened. I don't want to deal with that, if that's your attitude on this. But I also feel like that about the orbiters. If my conclusion is, I think that you're money-grubbing assholes that were just around Destiny for clout, and you wouldn't have said word one about this until it was made public, then I don't want to deal with you. And that goes from people that I don't really get along with, like Brianna Wu, right up to the people that I really liked, like Pisco and Conor. I'm not saying they should be banned. I'm not saying that anyone else is immoral if they listen to their shows. I'm just saying, personally, me, when I'm deciding who do I want to interact with, I don't want to interact with someone who's like a sex pest, who's sending videos out and is like, I don't give a fuck. And I don't want to interact with people that sweep up for them and go, I don't care, it's for money. That's how I feel. You could say you're right, you're wrong. That's how I feel. And so Conor's point here is exactly the type of thing I want to hear from the people that I'll be interacting with or not in the future. Look, this is what I feel about what Destiny said. This is if I believe it or not. This is why I will continue to engage with him or not. That's it. And the fact that Conor's initial statement was a joke, okay, and then putting out a video where he shows more anger and people like Mr. Girl, Lav, President Sunday, and then finally, an hour and 20 minutes in, it's like, oh yeah, Brianna hasn't said to what Conor said, she's getting there a little. Now, even if I think this video's dog shit, I don't know, given some of the things that are being said at this point, that I'm willing to say I'm never talking to Conor again. I'm not saying that. Nor even if I did, would I say, you all should boycott Conor. Conor should be kicked off YouTube. I'm not saying any of that shit. I'm just saying, as an individual, I have the right to make a choice on who I want to interact with on this space. And if someone does things that I think that are immoral enough that it reaches a certain level, I don't want to interact with them. And I think you have that right as a viewer. You might really like someone's content, but if you find out that they're arrested for sexual assault, say, you might say, look, they can keep streaming, but I'm not going to watch them because I think that's beyond the pale. Maybe not. Maybe you say, well, maybe you'd still go to an R. Kelly concert if you put one on. Whatever, to each their own. That's it. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm looking at. I'm not here trying to bury people, trying to cancel community. That's not my intent. You might think I'm lying, but I'm telling you the truth. I talked to a guy who's sort of tangentially in the Destiny orbit, Econoboy. 2 nights ago, I told him straight up. I really hope Pisco says shit that assuages my fear that... Because my big concern is the people that knew about this in the background, stuck behind Destiny, kept doing podcasts with them, and now that it's came public, they're like, oh, I gotta distance myself. Why? Because to me, that doesn't sound like you're distancing for moral reasons, because you're willing to stick by him when you believe that he did this terrible thing. But now that it's public, now it's, now it might hurt me. It might hurt my image. So now I'm going to take a step back. That's bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that I have definitively found that anyone around Destiny has done that. But there are questions. When did you know about this? When did you believe it? Why did you keep doing shows with Destiny? Keep doing projects with him if you knew about and believed this? What's changed now that you all of a sudden are pulling back from him? And by the way, if I was Destiny, I would ask the same question of these people. So you knew this, you believed it, you kept doing your podcast with me. We planned on doing shit in the future, then all of a sudden it gets made public and you're like, whoa. Sounds to me like you're not really my friend. Sounds to me like you didn't have a super hard moral obligation that you were going to so oppose to what I did that you couldn't work with me. What it sounds like is when the kitchen got hot, you got the fuck out. Because all of a sudden, it might hurt my image.
DGG, I'm just going to be mean and call out the entire community. They started blasting her in the replies and saying like ratio, which, listen, I'm not going to lie. I think that's fucked up. I think it's kind of funny. But obviously with a human being, you're going to be ripping their guts out with that shit. So, like, how about we all stop being a little bit sociopathic?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, then he's talking about work. Skeleton, I never did anything maliciously or as any of the fucking insane lab, Mr. Rapist, Jew stalker allegations say. That's fucking retarded. My only crime is being too much of a gooner in 2023 and earlier 100% sure. Though, again, I can't say anything specifically because everyone wants to come at me in court now, I guess. I think this is self-sweeping in personal code. Okay? You might not have been malicious, meaning that you were cruelly trying to leak the nudes of other people, but you were so reckless you might as well have been. Sharing them with a...
Yeah, and again, I don't disagree with anything that Conor's saying here. I think this is the meat of what people expected to hear. What do you think about this? But it took him an hour and a half to get to it. And he has more anger, it seems like, everybody else is connected to the story than Destiny. And then it'll get worse for Conor here going forward, as we'll get to. But, some of these statements, I don't know if he reads these are worse. He said, if I have to go on the sex offender rich, this is Destiny. If I have to go on the sex offender rich list, I'm taking 20 other streamers with me, okay, lol. What's the implication here? Are you just threatening other streamers? Or are you aware that other streamers have done similar stuff, recorded people against their will, and you've just kept silent about it? How is any of this helping Destiny's image here? I mean, this guy's eventually going to come back. Is he just going to ignore everything and say, I'm not talking about it and move forward? Or is he going to say, look, I am sorry, and who's going to believe him with shit like this being said?
19-year-old with whom you had a few Discord calls is fucking insane.
Of course
I think, yeah. All right.
If that's true, it's just beyond indefensible. Okay, help me understand this, Conor. Like, why? This is a conversation I've had with so many girlfriends this week. Like, help me understand this. Why would a man do this? Like, is it about power?
Leaks?
Yeah.
Sex?
Now listen, again, at least Conor's making... Fuck. I don't really care for Brianna, right? But even I feel bad at how bad... what is she doing? Yeah, I agree, Conor. Yeah. And you can say, well, she's depressed. She don't want to talk about this shit. She wanted to talk about Lav. Is it just she's not that smart? Is it just that she doesn't want to really shit on Destiny? I mean, she said a little, but it's just it just looks so bad. Yeah. Well, why would a guy do this? What is going on? Oh. I've debated Destiny. I think I do quite well against Destiny. You may disagree. Whatever. I've debated Conor. I think I do quite well against Conor. You may disagree. Both Destiny and Conor are capable debaters. I think Brianna's fucking wretched. Wretched. It's just empty platitudes. And I'm starting to wonder is that everything with her? I don't know. I feel like it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, I guess. But my God, I don't know.
Yeah, leak sex tapes.
Listen, I'm
help me understand.
I am 5% joking and I am 95% serious.
Okay.
There is I think that the trauma that we listed in the beginning actually fucked him up and made him sociopathic and made him incapable of trusting other human beings. I think that wound has festered and it's being reinforced in his personal life and professional life, that he can't trust anybody and everybody is a monstrous piece of shit who's selfish, who wants to fucking stab each other in the back. Then on top of that, I think he's been financially rewarded for being sociopathic, because while all the other streamers, they have feelings, they get their feelings hurt, they have bad relationships, they break up with people, all this kind of stuff, while everybody else is getting their fucking feelings hurt, he's just chugging along making content being a fucking sociopath. So he's being financially rewarded for being emotionally callous.
What I see here, Conor, in addition to everything you're seeing, is wild legal culpability, right? I see this as legally actionable and something that a lawyer is going to bring up in a case to show mindset after the fact. So, if the damages are being, let's say a case is brought and a jury is looking at like, do you have remorse for his actions? I think, like, this is my first thought. This chat log is going to come up, and I don't think it shows that. So, you know, it's I think it's one thing to go on the offensive and attack when it makes you money on YouTube. I think this is a case where it's going to cost him a massive amount of money if he doesn't have some more emotional control. So, I'm not surprised, but I think it increases.
It's not just about the court case, though. And I don't think that they understand this, or they're intentionally obfuscating from the point. It's not just about the court case. It's about what is the community at large going to do about this? Do you want to work with a guy like this? And so I think she's saying, look, this doesn't show someone that's remorseful, and you might imply then she's saying then maybe people won't work with him. But I just think, like, if I'm putting their characterization in the most positive light for those that want to give them the benefit of the doubt, it's, well, yeah, clearly we're not going to deal with them until we see change. But they're hyper-focused on this court case, and I don't think they don't realize. Again, just go to Destiny's big thread on Reddit, where, again, on his Reddit post, they basically only allow one thread, one post that you could comment on this. They'll delete every other thread that you try to make on this controversy. And it's titled like some bullshit meme title, Destiny's own statement. So even in his own statement on this, it's like, haha, a little bit of jokiness. And you can see people in Destiny's community that are like, dude, what are you doing? And like, when people are like, well, the court case, a lot of other people are like, no one gives a shit about the court case. Sure, if Pixie could win a civil suit, if Cherry could win a criminal suit, fine, yeah, great. But we're talking about beyond that.
Do you think he's even capable of changing this behavior? I don't know. But what I'll tell you is I moved every 3 years when I was a kid. I got used to losing relationships. So I would basically build like intimate, strong relationships. And then 3 years into it, we would move. And so as a result, I became emotionally callous and I developed bad habits. I treated people not as people. I treated them as experiences because I felt like everything was transitionary. Everything was going to change. People would die. People would move. So as a result, why am I going to get so emotionally invested into people if it's all just going to end? And I can imagine that consciously or subconsciously, Steven might see the world the same way. Why are you going to get emotionally invested in people if it's all going to end? And the truth is, all of us abandoning him now is probably proving that point, right? All relationships are transitory. When he fucks up, everybody runs away from him, right? But what you're supposed to learn, and what I learned, is that that's not entirely true. And there are people with whom you can build like loving, lasting, strong relationships that make life interesting and cool. And so while I had this really like fucked up emotional coping mechanism that actually, I would say, helped me get through the military, it took me many years to figure it out, but I returned to the lessons of my parents, like the religious lessons of my parents and the example that they showed me in their marriage. And as a result, I have an amazing family. I love my wife. We've been together 12 years. I've never cheated on her. And then I also have 2 kids and we're thinking about having a 3rd kid. And I love my kids and they're fucking beautiful and they make life incredible.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, again, the idea of giving advice to Destiny, like, oh, the way you've been brought up, you'll think relationships are transitory and stuff. I don't have a problem with that. Look, I don't think what Destiny's accused of, even if we believe everything, raises to the level of like, this guy should be thrown in prison for the rest of his life or any shit like that. And so there are going to be people that want Destiny's well-being to also be focused on, which is fine. I don't know if now's the time and the place for that. But okay, you're giving advice like, look, not everything's transitory, not every relationship, there are people that you could love, blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good, I guess. You know, I just don't personally know if Pixie was my friend and I was pretty outraged at the treatment of her. I mean, they're saying they believe Pixie. Pixie's saying that she's suicidal. Whatever your opinion is, listening is irrelevant to what Conor and what Brianna and what other people involved in this believe. They're saying we believe Pixie. And so, you know, if it was my friend and she was suicidal because something that some piece of shit did to her like this, I don't know that I'd be like, well, you know, let's look into the trauma that he had. Let's you know, here's some advice I have for you moving forward. I don't know.
Oh, if Steven can change. I don't know if he wants to change. I know that I want him to change. I know that I see redeeming qualities in him that I think would be great as a leader of men and as a friend and maybe as a partner to somebody someday. But if he continues to be selfish and emotionally callous, then he's not going to be good to anybody.
I think it's just not worth the emotional drain of being in his orbit, to be really honest with you. I just don't. I think it produces a good show, and I think
I mean, that's an honest answer, and it's not even that monstrous. But the obvious question is, if you're like, listen, my decision it's not worth the drain because all the drama of being in his orbit, doesn't that beg the question? But what if this would have never came public? My opinion is that this was terrible. You saw what I just saw. You tell me if you think that my summary was accurate. Because, by the way, when I put this summary out, Conor was like, yeah, here's the summary. Destiny had trauma as a child. He's such a talented and big-hearted person doing great work in politics. President Sunday is horrible. Mr. Girl's ex post showing him in a tank top, posting about this shows he's disgusting. Lav said things about Hassan before that she needs to explain. Oh yeah, and what Destiny did is bad and he should have to face repercussions. That's the impression I got from watching 2 hours and 10 minutes. They didn't even get to really talking about meat and potatoes of what they thought about what Destiny did until an hour and a half. Only after their own audience continually prodded them, when are you going to talk about Destiny? So that's my opinion on this, that it seemed like they're like, we know what we're supposed to say and what we have to say. So we'll get the words out, but we'll downplay, we'll make excuses, we'll blame other people. And if they would have started this with the last 25 minutes of what they talked about there, I don't think it would be that objectionable. Look, we're looking at Destiny. Here's the accusations. We're looking at Destiny's response. We don't think this shows someone who's sorry. These aren't good enough. And I don't know if I want to hang out with a person like this. Fair. But it's the context of the whole thing. So, and I think Conor sounds better than Brianna, but maybe that's just because, let's give the benefit of the doubt and say Conor is literally saying the exact same things that's on Brianna's mind, and so she just says, yeah, I agree. Okay. But not good. Not good at all. I don't think it rises to the level that I would be unwilling to ever stream with Conor again. But it certainly diminishes my opinion of him. And I don't think that anyone could be faulted for saying, look, I think they're trying to sweep up for this guy because they see personal benefit in it. I think that's a plausible explanation. And many people, that might be the conclusion that they come to. And I'm borderline there. But even if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, you have to admit, this was a shit statement. Because I want to go back now that you've seen the whole thing. You've seen the whole thing. And I want to show you one last time what my post was on X. And then what Brianna Wu's reaction was to my post. You ready? I'll summarize the Conor Brianna video regarding the Destiny situation for you. Quote, Destiny had trauma as a child. He's such a talented and big-hearted person, doing great work in politics. President Sunday is horrible. Mr. Girl's ex post showing him in a tank top, posting about this shows he's disgusting. Lav said things about Hassan before that she needs to explain. Oh, and what Destiny did is bad, and he should have some sort of repercussions. Brianna says, this is horseshit, Rob. We aggressively criticize... I'm sorry. This is horseshit, Rob. We aggressively criticized the shit out of him. And also criticized the dipshits clout farming on him. I say, no, it's not horseshit, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. See? Conor, when I put that post, said, yeah. He acknowledges that's what happened. Then Brianna says, do you admit there was aggressive criticism for him? And we encouraged the lawsuits and said we believe Pixie without reservation? I guess that probably 40 minutes last night was about critiquing him. I say, I'll admit those words were said to some extent. It's clear there was more anger and vitriol directed at other third parties. Everyone could see what was happening. I'm angry, Rob. I think there are a lot of pieces of shit that are trying to clout farm off this, and it pisses me off. It's not content, it's people's lives. Some of these people are my friends. They deserve better than being turned into shit-tier content for shittier orbiters. I say, that may be true. You know what's probably even worse than clout farming over these victims? The fact that they were made victims in the first place by Destiny. People may think that you spending more time being outraged at the people calling out Destiny as opposed to Destiny himself seems a little misguided and calculated. Brianna says, you don't give a shit about the victims. I say, I disagree. And I do think you give a shit about them. You just give a shit more about your image and what could benefit you a little more than you care about them. Finally, she replies, "This is exactly as accurate as views on January 6th. In any case, I'm out. I can't deal with mentally unhealthy people like you yourself any further. I wish you the best." Before I get to my statement, the January 6th comment, isn't that the same as fucking Conor saying, "But what about your statements about Hassan?" Good point. Yeah, I crushed you on a January 6th debate. How the fuck is that relevant about any of this? My response, talking about me being mentally unhealthy, I said, "I'm mentally unhealthy? Thank you for your diagnosis. And you were able to give it without ever having met me. If only you could have been as capable of a psychologist with your good friend Destiny, you could have prevented your friends from becoming victims." I again say, I'm not saying that Brianna Wu or Conor should be canceled. I'm not. I think their statement was fucking absolute dog shit, and that the conclusion I'm coming... Before we got to Brianna, I was skeptical, as you saw the whole time, because I feel like she was just like, yeah, what Conor said. The sweeping up for the first hour and 30 minutes was horseshit. Then they at least got to some meat and potatoes that I was willing to live with. Okay. And willing to say, well, maybe it's just awkward and they're making a dumb statement and they're doing really poorly at it, but maybe they do really think like, all right, this isn't about our personal stuff, personally advancing our careers or getting to work with Destiny or making clout or money with Destiny. But then once you see Conor get on there with Lav and Queeman, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So it hasn't risen to the level where I would never interact with either of these two again. But I will say, Brianna, never been a big fan of. I don't wish her any ill or anything like that. I really don't. I just didn't like my interactions with her in the past. Quite the opposite with Conor. Thought he's been shit, claiming to be a conservative working with Progressive Victory PAC for that money. So to me, at least, it seems like this is a pattern of Conor saying shit that you think would be against his character for the bottom line. Brianna quit Twitch poll because of me. When did she say that? Oh, no shit. Is this true? She hasn't mentioned me by name, but she sent this after our interactions there at 1:08 p.m. "Announcement, I'm done with Twitch poll. I have too much real world stuff going up to get wrapped up in what's ultimately high school drama. Best of luck with it. Most of you are mentally ill." High school drama? Is that what you feel, Pixie? Is that what you feel, Brianna? You think Pixie's claims are high school drama? Or you just get pissed off when you're making shitty statements about it and basically sweeping up and people call you out? That's the drama. There's drama, all right. Every time I interact with her, it's the same similar bullshit. Last time it was, "Oh, why were you rude to me?" Well, you made fun of me. Oh, like, who gives a shit? Didn't you hear Brianna say in the context of that when they were going over Mr. Girl's thing, "If you're in the Twitch poll space, you got to be thick-skinned. Yeah, sure, DGG, they'll brigade on people and it's not fun, but that's what this space is." Wow, Brianna, it sounds like you're a professional. Real thick skin, right? I quit. I can't be involved in this.